Hi guys, this is Michelle with MC&T, and I am here because I wanted to talk about the sealers for your signs and what you need to know about the different sealers that are out there, and some of my favorites, some of the ones that I use, and why you need to use a sealer. Well, after you've had your sign for a while, it's going to need to be resealed. It's like anything. That like the best analogy I can think of is your house. You don't paint your house once and then say, oh, it's fine, it'll be good for the next 100 years. We have to repaint our houses because they need the protection. It's the same thing with the sign, especially if a sign has been out in the weather. If it's in your house, you're good to go. I mean, if it's been sealed with what you want, you're probably never going to have to seal it again. But you have a sign that's outside, either under the porch or it's under the tree. It's going to need to be sealed so that you can keep it. You've seen the porch leaners. These are usually made with 1x4s. These are popular. These need to be sealed. If they're not sealed, you're still going to get some warping. And what happens, and that's the reason we seal, is so that our boards don't warp. And what will happen with these porch leaners, like this one's not sealed in the back, because it's not my favorite. I haven't sealed it. What happens if I were to put this outside, and if I put it under the tree, and it would get rained on, it's going to start to warp. It's going to start to come in on itself this way, and you're going to start to see it curve. Even though it's made out of great wood, this is it's a 1x4. It's perfect for the porch leaners, but they have to be sealed front and back. Any cut edges really need to be sealed. Like the tops where they cut really need to have a good sealer on it. Another sign that you need to watch out for are these MDF signs. You can get these at the craft stores. They're usually the ones that are really inexpensive. And how do I know that it is an MDF sign? Is when you look at it, there's no wood grain, especially on the back. And then you can look in here, it kind of just looks, there's nothing to it. Versus this sign here, which has, when you see it, you can see the wood grain. There's no wood grain. So that's usually an indication that it's an MDF. There's nothing wrong with these signs, other than if they get wet, they poof up and they just turn to nothing. So this is not a sign you can put outside direct in the weather and it will hold up. Underneath a porch, on a wreath, as a decoration on the side of the porch where it's not going to get heavily wet, these will work just fine. Okay. If you wanted to give it some extra protection, you could seal the back and you could seal these edges. And that's going to give it some extra protection and have it last a little bit longer. But as long as this doesn't get dunked in rain and it doesn't have huge amounts of moisture on it, these will be fine. Same thing when you're getting these signs are not the MDF, because this does have a wood veneer on it, but it is a plywood and it's real thin, so these will take the moisture very quickly. And that's what happened with this one. I had put this one outside when I had done the live. I had done it, wanted to take pictures, put it out, and I hadn't sealed the back. So this one has some warping to it, so it's hard to see. I don't think you can see in here. It's real slight. It was a whole lot worse. I brought it in the house, kind of had it dry out, and then I sealed it. If I probably would have let it dry out longer, I probably wouldn't have nearly, I've got one corner over here that's still coming up. But you really can't, I don't know, can you see? Can you see how there's kind of a slight curve to it at the top of this one? So that's the warping. But all because I didn't seal the back. If I had sealed front and back before I put it out, it would have been perfect, and it wouldn't have mattered. This one stays under the porch. I will not have to seal this one probably for another 2 or 3 years, unless it just becomes dull and I really want to reseal it. Like I said, if I were to have one of the porch leaners or something underneath a tree or out there as a yard sign, I'm going to want to seal that one at least once a year, and I want to use a good exterior sealer. Now, what kind of sealers are there? Some of my favorite. This one is my favorite. This is for indoor use. If you have a sign like the one here that I showed you it's not going to get a lot of rain, it may get a little bit of moisture, this one will be okay. It's not perfect, but it would be okay to reseal your sign with. And it's the triple thick clear glaze. I really like the way this one sprays. I like the coverage that I get. It seems to go really far, and it builds up really nicely and pretty to give me a really glossy shine. I love gloss. love gloss. So if you have a sign and you're buying from somebody and you have a particular type of finish that you want, please let them know it, especially if it's not stated, because I sure don't want to give somebody, when I seal something for them, because I seal my signs unless I know they're going to be in the house, then I may not seal them. But you want to make sure that you get the coverage that you like. So this is my absolute favorite. My next favorite is polyacrylic. I'm not happy with the I don't like it in the spray, because to me the spray really has a tendency what I call spit, which means when it sprays it puts bubbles out, especially on a can that's like this, that's not full. So, and this has to be really shaken up really well. So my next favorite, this one also comes, the polyacrylics also come in cans, so you can brush them on. Just be very careful. Don't put a lot, because it'll take a long time to dry, and you want to build up your coats. Because what happens with the polyacrylics and this, they can get cloudy. So when you're spraying them on, if you put a real thick area on and it becomes cloudy, don't panic. Wait till it dries. It could dry clear. If it doesn't dry clear, put another light coat on and it will get rid of that cloudiness. There are a lot of people who like the Rust-Oleum. You can use this one outside because this isn't oil-based. I'm not a fan of it. It really stinks, really gives me a headache, so that's one of the reasons I don't use it very often. I have, as you can see, I was trying it out, I was testing it. Not my favorite. But a lot of people really like it. They say it's very durable for an outside sign. And then the spar urethane are also supposed to be another really good one. I bought this to try to see how it works. The only thing that you need to be careful of and you need to be aware of is when you use the oil-based and you have a white sign, you're going to see that it's going to yellow. The oil-based sealers have a tendency to yellow. Okay, so if it's a white sign, you're going to see that yellowing. So be aware of that. It's not anything that the person who made your sign did. It's just the nature of these oil-based sealers. They have a tendency to yellow, where the water-based sealers will not. So let's say.
So I forgot to add here some other information that's kind of important. What I wanted you to know is to make sure that you end up testing your sealer on the back of your sign. Some sealers may not react well together, and it's just like when you think oil paint versus water-based paint, one doesn't go on top of the other. So the water base on top of an oil base may cause some of those bare spots, where the I call it like an oil slick, where it just kind of moves away. But oil-based sealers usually on top of water-based sealers are going to be fine. So before you spray your sign, always make sure, test it on the back, especially if you're going to refresh your sign, so that you don't end up destroying and causing some problems there with your sealers. All right.
So let's say you do have a sign in the house, you do want some kind of coverage on your sign, but you're allergic, or somebody who's allergic, or you just don't want to bring these chemicals into your house. There's something else that you can do. There is another way to seal your sign so that you can give it some shine, if that's what you like, if you don't like the matte finishes. Oh, and by the way, all of these do come in different finishes. I like the gloss. Just like paint, they have gloss, semi-gloss, satin, and matte. All of these come in. You just have to determine what you like. So say you don't want these chemicals in your house, because I know there are people who don't. Again, so if you don't want the chemicals in your house, then let the person making your sign know. Is there another option that you can seal with? And there is another option. There is wax-based sealers. Okay, so there are wax-based sealers out there, and this is one from Waverly. This is actually a tinted one, so it's tinted white, so this would have like a white glaze to it. There's some that are tinted brown, and there's the clear. So you're actually just putting a layer of wax over your sign. Now, the wax sealers are going to work best with your wood, and they're going to work best with signs that have not been sealed before with anything else, and it's raw. It's just the painted wood, or it's the raw wood. So if you use the raw wood, it's going to give you that natural look. And if you use one that's definitely made from beeswax, you've got a nice chemical-free sealer. All you have to do is you brush it on, or you wipe it on with a rag, and then you buff it off. and you can build up your layers and get multiple layers. It's going to take a little more maintenance on the wax because the wax will attract some dust, so you're going to have to clean it a little bit more, and you have to be very careful with how you clean it. It's not waterproof, but you can use a damp rag to clean it. Not anything that's heavily wet, so you can just do that. And then it's always a matter of taking and buffing to get that shine back, because they will dull over time on the wax sealers. All right, those are the ones that I have out there. If you have another sealer, something you're curious about, you don't know about, email, text, make comments on here and let me know, and I will research it for you, and I will get back to you with an answer. Please let other people know about this. Sprinkle it out there to others if you think this is something that they would be interested in and can learn something about the different sealers that are out there. All right, guys, y'all enjoy your day.